There's a time in life when everything seems to fall apart. You wake up, and the usual burst of enthusiasm that used to greet you seems absent. You check your phone, and there are no new messages. You think about your friends, the ones who used to text you, make plans, or at least check in every now and then. But these days, all you get are echoes of silence. You send messages that are left on read, or worse, you hear nothing back at all. The loneliness starts to settle in, a quiet, suffocating presence that you can't quite escape. At first, you might tell yourself it's just a phase. Everyone's busy, life happens. And sure, that's true. People have their own lives to manage. But then, days turn into weeks and weeks into months, and you find yourself surrounded by a growing emptiness. What's worse, it feels as if your friends have drifted so far away that even if you try to reach out, they wouldn't be able to hear you anymore. You might even question yourself. What's wrong with me? Why is this happening? These feelings are painful, and they can leave you feeling confused, rejected, and alone. But here's the thing. When no one seems to want to talk to you, and you find yourself losing friends one after another, it's not necessarily a reflection of who you are. Sometimes, it's a sign that something deeper is happening beneath the surface. The first thing to recognize is that losing friends or feeling isolated isn't always a personal failing. It's a sign of a deeper emotional or psychological need that you may be neglecting. Often, the connections we have with people are reflective of the state of our own hearts and minds. If your social circle is shrinking, it's worth reflecting on what may be causing this rift, whether it's something you're doing, something that has happened to you, or something entirely outside your control. The sign of self-neglect. One of the most common signs of losing friends or feeling ignored is self-neglect. Sometimes when life becomes overwhelming or you're struggling internally, you can lose sight of your own needs, emotionally, physically, and mentally. You may find yourself retreating into your shell, avoiding the things that used to make you happy, or withdrawing from social engagements. You tell yourself, it's just easier to stay home, or I don't have the energy for this right now. When you're in this space, it's easy to lose touch with those around you. You stop reaching out, stop making the effort to connect. Friends notice the silence, the lack of initiative, and they begin to pull back, not out of malice, but because relationships are a two-way street. Friendship requires energy and effort, and if you're not showing up for them, it's hard for them to keep showing up for you. In a sense, your withdrawal can be a form of self-protection. It's easier to shut people out than to face the vulnerability of being seen in your raw, unpolished state. But in the process, you might find yourself distancing not only from your friends, but from the part of yourself that craves connection, understanding, and support. This emotional withdrawal can feel comforting in the short term, but in the long run, it only deepens the sense of loneliness. The sign of unhealed wounds. Another reason for the silence and the loss of friends could be related to unhealed emotional wounds. You might not even realize it, but past experiences, whether it's a breakup, the loss of a loved one, childhood trauma, or previous betrayals, can create invisible barriers between you and others. These unhealed wounds can make it difficult to trust, connect, or open up. And over time, the emotional baggage accumulates, creating a distance that's hard to bridge. It's important to acknowledge that sometimes people pull away because they don't know how to help you with your pain. They may sense that something's wrong, but if you're not open about what you're going through, they may not know how to reach out. This gap between emotional pain and the inability to express it can feel isolating. You may try to bury these emotions, but when you do, they tend to manifest in other ways, through bitterness, irritability, or an overwhelming sense of being misunderstood. Your friends might not always understand the depth of your struggle, and they may not know how to support you if you don't communicate your needs. But in their silence, they may feel helpless and withdraw. It's a natural response to feeling disconnected from someone you care about, especially if that person is unwilling or unable to share their emotional world. The sign of changing priorities. People change. As time goes on, your friends, family, and even you may evolve. Sometimes, the friendships you once valued don't fit as seamlessly into your life anymore. Interests shift, values change, and life circumstances take people in different directions. You may feel sad about this, but it's important to remember that the end of one friendship often paves the way for new connections that align with who you are becoming. You might find that you outgrow certain friendships, or that the things that once connected you to people no longer hold the same meaning. This doesn't mean you're losing something of value. It means you're evolving. The loss of friends can be difficult, but it's also an opportunity to focus on yourself and explore new friendships that better reflect your current stage in life. The sign of needing to change your approach. There's a tough truth to face when you find yourself losing friends and wondering why no one wants to talk to you. Sometimes it's because of how you are showing up in relationships. It might be that you've unintentionally been pushing people away, whether through negative behavior, unrealistic expectations, or a lack of emotional availability. You may not be aware of it, but sometimes our own actions create the walls that distance us from others. Consider the way you communicate with your friends. Are you frequently turning conversations back to yourself? Do you ask them how they're doing? Or do you focus only on your own concerns? Are you taking the time to really listen? Or are you always in a hurry to share your thoughts? Relationships require reciprocity and balance. Both people need to feel valued and heard. If you've been taking more than you give, it can create an imbalance that may push your friends away. If this resonates with you, it's time to take a step back and evaluate how you approach your relationships. Are you truly present when you spend time with others? Or are you distracted? Do you genuinely care about the people in your life? Or do you only reach out when you need something? Self-awareness is key to breaking patterns that may be driving your friends away. The sign of external circumstances. Sometimes losing friends isn't about anything you're doing wrong. External factors can influence your social dynamics as well. Maybe your friends are dealing with their own personal struggles and don't have the energy to invest in others. Life's challenges, whether career stress, family issues, or health problems, can often shift people's focus and energy away from their social circles. Similarly, changes in your own circumstances, such as a move, a new job, or a new relationship, can create distance between you and your friends. Life changes can be a whirlwind, and it's easy to lose touch with people during times of transition. If your friends are going through their own transformations, they might not be as responsive as they once were. If you're finding yourself in this situation, try not to take it personally. Friendships often go through seasons, and sometimes you need to let things settle before you can reconnect. The path forward, healing and reconnection. The truth is, losing friends or feeling like no one wants to talk to you is a painful and difficult experience. But rather than seeing it as an insurmountable loss, try to view it as a sign that it's time for change. This period of silence can be an opportunity for personal growth, self-reflection, and healing. Use this time to reconnect with yourself, to nurture your own emotional needs, and to heal any wounds that may have been festering. Reach out to the people who are still there. It's never too late to rebuild connections, even if they've been strained. But also, Give yourself permission to let go of relationships that no longer serve you or align with who you are becoming. And remember, sometimes the best way to bring others back into your life is by first focusing on nurturing your own well-being. The journey through loneliness can be transformative. It might hurt now, but with time, patience, and self-compassion, you'll begin to see that the loss of friends is just a sign that you are being called to grow. And in that growth, new and deeper connections will emerge. And in the end, you'll find that the silence was never really an absence, but a space where new possibilities can begin to take root.